Shalom, Gabe Greenberg here, Rabbi of Congregation Beth Israel in New Orleans, Louisiana, studying with you this week, as we do every week, the commentary of the Netziv, Rav Naftali Tzvi Yehuda Berlin, on the weekly Torah portion. This week we are studying from Parshat Mishpatim, which is Exodus chapter 24, verse 7. This is a famous verse in the Torah, takes place during the giving of the Torah on Har Sinai, and we learn verse 7, Vayikach Sefer Habrit, Moshe took the book of the covenant. We're going to get back to what that is. Vayikra be'aznei ha'am, and he read it in the ears of the nation. Vayomru, and they said, the nation, the people said, Kol asher diber Hashem Naaseh VNishma. Everything that God says, we will do it, and we will understand it, or we will hear it. A very famous phrase in Jewish life and Jewish thought in the Tanakh, Naaseh VNishma. We will do and then we will hear. The Netziv asks several questions on this verse. He notes the fact that, first of all, some of this seems redundant. We learned just several verses earlier in the third verse. Moshe vayisaper la'am et kol divrei Hashem. Moshe told the people everything that God wanted to teach them. Et kol mishpatim, all of the laws. Vayan kol ha'am, and the nation responded kol echad, in one voice. Vayomru, and they said kol dvarim asher diber Hashem Naaseh. Everything that God says, we will do. So there's a redundancy. But there's also differences. Earlier, the people simply said, Naaseh, we will do. They didn't say Naaseh VNishma, we will do and we will hear. By the way, this was also true in last week's Parsha, in Parshat Yitro, in chapter 19, wherein Moshe speaks to the Jews, to the Israelites. Yasem lifnehem et kol ha'devarim ha'eleh, he places the laws before them. V'yanu kol ha'am yachdav, and the whole nation says together and responds, Vayomru kol asher diber Hashem Naaseh, everything God says we will do. So why these redundancies? What's with the differences? Another question that the Netziv says on our verse 7, what's the meaning of the phrase be'aznei ha'am, that Moshe tells the people in their ears? What is that supposed to indicate to us? So, several questions. Here's what the Netziv does. First thing, he draws a distinction and says that last week's Parsha, Yitro, where it says all the people, so that was Moshe speaking to Kol Ha'am, everyone, all of the Israelites, women, men, children. But here, in our verse, as we will see, he's speaking to the Gedolei Yisrael, the leaders, or the brightest sages. That's going to be a central distinction that he'll draw. Ha'inyan. Mimashe hikdim HaKadosh Baruch Hu kol hamamar. When God first started speaking, and Moshe spoke for God, in Yitro and also in several verses earlier, lahamonam, this was to everyone, as I said, shiavinu ki Hashem matne sheyasku b'Torah uba'avodah. God was stipulating that every Jewish person, as part of their raison d'etre, their mission, is to learn, study, delve into Torah, ube'avodah, and to divine service. B'gemilut chasadim lo diber. But God did not stipulate with the Israelites that they engage in acts of loving kindness. Now this is a little counterintuitive. What does it mean to say God said you don't have to do that? No, that's not what the Netziv is going to say. Listen, this is very interesting. Shahare b'tiv'am hema b'nei Avraham Yitzhak v'Yakov gomle chasadim. No, it's not that at all. Israelites are naturally giving people. They do acts of chesed naturally, and not just Israelites and Jews. Gam kol umot ha'olam al chesed nivna ha'olam. Every human, all the nations in the world, as he says, the world is built on chesed. We have an idea that human beings naturally want to do acts of loving kindness. So God didn't need to stipulate that the Israelites, in order to fulfill their mission as Jews, need to do acts of loving kindness. That's an expectation on all humans. Umishum hachi heshivu. So the nation responded, Kol ha'devarim asher diber Hashem naaseh. Okay, God, everything you said, we will do. Hainu, Torah va'avodah. We'll live a life of Torah and holy works, a life of service, divine service. Aval od nichlal b'ma'amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu tanai l'gedolei Yisrael. But God also was intending towards the great leaders, elders, and sages of the Israelites. Gam l'gimilut chasadim. And to them, he was intending this brit, this covenant at Sinai, to also cover acts of loving kindness. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean the rest of the Israelites weren't expected to live up to a certain level? No. Remember what he said. Everyone in the world is expected to do acts of loving kindness. That's part of our nature. But it's only the Gedolim, the great ones here, who God is saying this is part of the covenant. What does that mean? Hainu, sheyu kol ma'aseim l'shem shemayim v'lo al pi seichel enoshio teva. Okay, for everyone else, we have to do it naturally. It's who we are as humans. But for the highest level of Jewish action of doing good is to do good deeds l'shem shemayim, which means for the sake of heaven, not just because we think it's nice or it's our natural inclination to do so. Don't get me wrong, that's a good thing, we should do that, but the highest level in Jewish thought, according to the Netziv, in terms of acting with chesed, with love towards others, is to do it in addition to the fact that we naturally want to, that we feel pulled and obligated to do so by the Torah, by God, by our tradition. Ubishvil zeh lakach Moshe sefer habrit. And that is why in our verse it says, Vayikach Moshe sefer habrit. What does it mean that at this point Moshe was reading from the book of the covenant? Well, according to the Netziv, that refers to all of Genesis and the book of Exodus up until now. Why? Ad kan maaseh ha'avot, because these are the stories of the patriarchs and the matriarchs, which is a story of chesed, of doing good. And now he says, V'hu hispir lahem v'nichnas ba'aznehem. He explained it to them, and it entered into their ears. Remember, it said that he said it specifically ba'aznei ha'am, into their ears. And so then Netziv wants to explain that refers to a deeper sort of understanding. V'al zeh anu yachidei segula Naaseh VNishma. And he concludes by saying that the response of Naaseh VNishma was not given actually by all of the Jews. It was just given by those leaders and the greatest sages and elders of the Israelites. They are the ones who said Naaseh VNishma, which is a bit of a radical restatement of how we tend to say everyone said Naaseh VNishma. Then Netziv says no, it was only certain people who did so. Naaseh, we will do, Torah va'avodah, Torah and holy service, v'nishma, and we will understand, al gimilut chasadim, on acts of loving kindness. Shelo shaykh lamar al zen naaseh. It wouldn't have been appropriate to just say we will do those, because everyone does those. Elanat nishma lasot ba'ofen yoter shalem u'lashem shemayim. That we, this highest level of a Jew who does things for the most pure reasons, will strive to do this as well in the most pure and robust way possible for the sake of heaven. So it's interesting that the Netziv says that Naaseh VNishma is not a fully public articulation that all the Israelites said. Rather, it was this highest class of people, and that the rest of the Israelites were bounded by Torah and Avodah, as well as a natural inclination towards Gimilut Chasadim that they share with all of humanity. Very interesting comment this week by the Netziv. Have a great week and look forward to learning with you again next week.